Welcome back to Fantasy Football in 5 yet again. This week will be our Sleepers episode. Last week, though, however, was
our 2017 Fantasy Football season outlook. So if you haven't seen that, hit the big red button below. Okay, so before we begin with our Sleepers episode, I'd like to apologize for what we're saying our next video was our last video. We said it was going to be our draft strategy video, but we had to do some shifting to our schedule, so here's our Sleepers. So here's quarterbacks. My first sleeper is a guy who I've been toting for a couple of weeks now, Jameis Winston of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I love him this season, I love his team, and I expect great things out of him.
my sleeper this season will be Marcus Mariota at quarterback. I have also talked about him recently, and I think that that team is finally going to make that big step into the playoffs.
Playoffs?
Alright, so starting off here, our sleepers are running back now. Mine, I'm going to start off with a guy who is coming back into the league, Marshawn Lynch. How about him?
Woo!
I love him behind that offensive line, and I think he's going to come back with an absolute freak of a show.
Throw him some of them Skittles.
And then also for my second is kind of a joint one between the two of us, LeGarrette Blount. I really like him out there in Philly. I think he's going to get a lot of touchdowns.
Now, people were saying that he's only going to get maybe 9 touchdowns, but because he had 18 last year, obviously he's going to not have 18 again, but still 9-10 touchdowns out of a guy is going to be a lot for your fantasy team.
Mm-hmm.
And he could be your flex too, so that's even bigger. But my number one sleeper is Isaiah Crowell. You heard me talking about him a little bit last video. I really like him this season. I can see over 1,000 yards for him in the Browns offense. They have a good offensive line. They really do. The thing is, can the quarterback play stay consistent enough for a run game to be, proficient? Okay, so moving on to the wide receivers. My number one guy for sleepers, you heard me talking about him last video. Again, Deshaun Jackson. I can't talk about him enough. I really like him this year. The deep threat. He's going to score you a lot of points, guys. So draft him if you can.
Alright, so my number one, I also talked about him, I think, last video, would be Alshon Jeffrey. I really like him out there in Philly. He's got a quarterback now, unlike when he was in Chicago. And now I really think that he's going to be utilized correctly. He's going to be that number one guy for them.
My number two sleeper is the Buffalo Bills' second-round pick this year, I believe, Zay Jones out of East Carolina University. He's a speedy, quick receiver who I think could easily overtake Sammy Watkins for the volume aspect of catching passes from Tyrod Taylor. I really like him. Don't draft him too high, though.
Alright, so my second receiver is another guy coming back from last year, Jarvis Landry. Now, you have to draft this guy, especially in a PPR league, because he gets so many passes. He's had over 100+ catches in the past, 15 years, it seems, even though he's only been in the league a few years. Anyways, but he's a guy is a must draft. Alright, starting off here, we're going to talk about our tight end sleepers now. My sleeper is a guy who was pretty big a few years ago, and I think is going to make emergence once again, Zach Ertz.
Wait, that's 3 Philadelphia Eagles in a row. Are you running a fever, sir?
No, actually I'm not. I'm just feeling the Philadelphia Eagles soaring to the top of the NFC East. And let's be real here, he's going to get some targets in the red zone now that they have actual receivers. He's not going to be blanketed covered every single play. Expect him to score some points.
And my guy finally can get a whole lot of volume from his quarterback, Jack Doyle. I really like Jack Doyle for Indy this year. Excuse me, Dwayne Allen is now with the Patriots, so that leaves the door wide open for Jack Doyle. I can see well over 500 or 600 yards and maybe around 6 touchdowns or so, but I really like him in this offense this year. Okay, so for the defenses, for sleepers, my team, I can't stand them, but it's the Patriots. They've done a fantastic job on defense the past couple of years, really under the radar type stuff, but it's Bill Belichick.
Under the radar, they just won the Super Bowl.
Under the radar, they've also cheated before. But anyways, the Patriots have a good defense. I think they're very talented, and they could, they're going to win the division. Let's say there.
Alright, so my sleepers are a little bit more surprising here. So I talked about some receivers and some quarterbacks on these teams, but how about the Tennessee Titans defense? They were really underrated last year. They were phenomenal at just stopping people on third down, and expect that to continue this year and even further into the season. And then I have one more to add. How about, wait for it, San Francisco 49ers.
Okay, now I know you're really running the fever. What's going on?
The 49ers here, excuse me. They don't have Chip Kelly. Right there, that's the answer. They don't have Chip Kelly, they're automatically going to win. So, yeah. Alright, starting off here with the most important position of all.
What is it?
Kickers,
there
obviously.
It is.
So let's go here. My sleeper is going to be Dustin Hopkins. He's the kicker for the Redskins, and I expect the Redskins to not necessarily score a lot of touchdowns, and so I see Dustin Hopkins getting a lot of field goal points.
Speaking of a lot of field goal points, here's a guy in Matt Prater for the Detroit Lions. They're going to be living on a Prater this year because they're not going to always be scoring touchdowns like the Redskins. But he's a guy you need to draft for your fantasy team. He will provide, folks. That was Fantasy Football in 5. Thank you for watching. We deliver all our fantasies in 5 minutes, but let's be honest, honestly, who would want to watch a 30-minute video on this topic?
Amen.
Now, before we head out here, we would like to thank our sponsor, Krispy Kreme, because we love donuts. But anyways, our next video is going to be our bus video, so stay tuned for that, and don't forget to subscribe.